In the quiet town of Knoxville, Tennessee, a story unfolded in 1995 that chills the bones to this day. This tale centers around Christa Pike, a young woman whose life spiraled into chaos well before the crime that shocked the community. But to understand the gravity of the event, we must first delve into the complexities that sculpted her young life. It's not just a story of crime, but a profound narrative of human behavior shaped under tragic circumstances. What led a young teenager to commit such a brutal act? Let's uncover the layers of Christa Pike's life. Imagine a childhood devoid of innocence and filled with horror. Christa Pike's early years were steeped in chaos and instability. Born to a family where love and care were rare commodities, Christa's life was anything but normal. Her home was a battleground, a place where abuse and neglect were the norms rather than exceptions. From a very young age, Christa was subjected to unspeakable acts of physical abuse and emotional torment. Neighbors and so-called family friends exploited her, leaving scars not just on her body but deep within her psyche. Amidst this turmoil, Christa's mental health began to deteriorate. She struggled with severe emotional disturbances, showing early signs of bipolar disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder. The very people who should have protected her turned a blind eye, leaving her to fend for herself in a hostile world. From such a turbulent beginning, Christa's path was marred by shadows that followed her into adolescence. As Christa grew older, the scars of her past deepened, influencing her actions and decisions. Entering her teenage years, she found herself grappling with an onslaught of mental health challenges. Bipolar disorder and PTSD were her constant companions, whispering chaos into the rhythm of her everyday life. These were not just labels, they were profound struggles that shaped her reality, making each day a battleground of emotions. Amid these tumultuous times, Christa's life trajectory veered towards even greater instability. The lack of a stable support system led her to form connections with individuals who, far from providing the guidance she desperately needed, often fueled her inclinations towards self-destructive behaviors. These relationships, built on shaky grounds of mutual dysfunction, only further isolated her from any semblance of normalcy or safety. In this critical phase of her life, every choice Christa made seemed to be a reflection of her unresolved past, a past that was continually bleeding into her present. Caught in a web of her past and present, Christa's next steps were fraught with danger. It was a cold day in January when the unthinkable happened. Christa Pike, a teenager whose life had been a mosaic of unresolved traumas and mental health struggles, found herself at a pivotal and catastrophic moment. The events leading up to the crime were a complex web of relationships and emotional turmoil. Christa had built an intense relationship with her peers, notably including Tatterall Ship, who shared her interest in the occult. Their bond, fueled by a shared sense of alienation and fascination with darker themes, set a foreboding backdrop to the tragedy that would unfold. The victim, a fellow student named Colleen Slemmer, was perceived by Christa as a rival, a sentiment that was perhaps intensified by Christa's psychological state and the dynamics within their social circle. On that grim day, the tensions reached their zenith. Christa, along with Tatterall, lured Colleen to a secluded area under the guise of a peace offering. What followed was not a reconciliation, but a horrific act of violence that lasted for a harrowing 30 minutes. The details of the crime are unsettling. It was reported that the attack was both premeditated and executed with chilling brutality, involving symbols and methods tied to their occult interests. This act was not just a spur-of-the-moment crime, it was the culmination of a series of untreated mental health issues and a lifetime of neglect and abuse. Christa's mental state at the time of the crime was a jigsaw of aggression, paranoia, and detachment from reality, likely a direct result of her bipolar disorder and PTSD, which had gone unmanaged and unsupported throughout her turbulent life. As the reality of what had transpired settled in, so did the consequences. Christa was quickly apprehended and faced the stark reality of the legal system. With the crime committed, Christa's fate took a dark turn towards consequences she could never escape. The ripple effects of a single act of violence can change many lives forever. In the wake of the brutal murder involving Christa Pike, the community of Knoxville was enveloped in a somber reflection of what had unfolded. The legal proceedings that followed were swift and intense. Christa, at such a young age, faced the harsh realities of the criminal justice system. She was convicted, and the gravity of her sentence was a stark reminder of the severity of her actions. The families involved were thrust into a relentless spotlight, grappling with a loss that was both personal and profoundly public. For the family of the victim, the pain was immeasurable. a wound deepened by the public and media scrutiny that such cases inevitably attract. The community around them struggled to reconcile the vibrant life lost with the troubled soul responsible for its end. Christa's own family, already fragmented and fraught with difficulties, found themselves dissecting every moment that led to that fateful day. The echoes of Christa's troubled upbringing were discussed in hushed tones as society pondered the role it might have played in this tragedy. In the halls of the courthouse, as each testimony was delivered, the air was thick with the question of what could have been done differently. Could a different path have been forged for Christa? Was the system that ultimately judged her also complicit in her descent? As the gavel struck, the story of Christa Pike was etched in tragic permanence. What can we learn from the heart-wrenching story of Christa Pike? As we reflect on the details of her life and the tragic events that unfolded, there are profound lessons that emerge, lessons that call for a deep societal introspection and action. Christa's life underscores the critical importance of early intervention in mental health and social services. From a very young age, she was enveloped in an environment that no child should ever experience. The lack of timely psychological and social support left indelible marks that not only shaped her troubled adolescence but also foretold a grim future. If there had been interventions that addressed her mental health issues and provided her with the necessary support systems, might the outcome have been different? The impact of childhood trauma is another stark lesson from Christa's story. Trauma, especially when experienced at an early age, can alter the trajectory of a person's life in profound ways. It can affect brain development, emotional regulation, and the ability to form healthy relationships. Christa's life is a testament to the devastating effects of such early life challenges and the urgent need for effective trauma-informed care within our communities. Moreover, Christa's journey highlights how crucial it is for society to support at-risk youth. There's an imperative need to foster environments that are not only safe, but also nurturing and inclusive. Programs that focus on mental health support, educational opportunities, and community involvement can play pivotal roles in altering the life paths of young individuals who might otherwise be left to fend for themselves in hostile environments. By understanding and addressing the roots of such tragedies, perhaps we can prevent them in the future. It is essential for us, as a society, to not only provide robust support systems, but also to ensure that these systems are accessible to those who need them the most. Our commitment to these young lives must be unwavering, for every child saved from a life of despair and violence is a testimony to what can be achieved when care meets action. As we conclude our journey through the life and legacy of Christa Pike, let us revisit the pivotal moments that have shaped this narrative. Born into chaos and suffering, Christa's early years were marked by severe trauma and neglect, elements that foreshadowed the tragic path she would eventually take. Her story is not merely one of crime, but a profound commentary on the failures of the systems meant to protect young lives. From her turbulent childhood to the dire consequences of untreated mental health issues, each chapter of Christa's life underscores the critical need for early intervention and compassionate support. The murder she committed, though heartbreakingly brutal, prompts us to look beyond the act itself and consider the broader societal failures. It challenges us to reflect on the importance of nurturing and protecting those who are most vulnerable among us. May the story of Christa Pike serve as a stark reminder and a call to action for all of us.